The submersible lights cut through the murky depths of the Pacific, illuminating strange formations that hadn't seen sunlight in millennia. Victoria rods pressed her face against the reinforced viewport, her dark eyes scanning the seafloor with practiced precision. At 38, she was the youngest lead researcher on the deep-sea archaeology expedition. Though the silver streaks in her black hair suggested that told her work had taken 3 minutes of oxygen remaining. Dear Wrist, the pilot's voice crackled through the comm system. We should begin ascent. Victoria ignored him, adjusting the external cameras. Something about these formations didn't match natural coral growth patterns. The structures were too regular, too purposeful. Just one more minute, Marcus. There's something here. The submersible sensors suddenly lit up, detecting an unusual energy signature. Victoria directed the robotic arm toward a partially buried crystalline structure. As the mechanical fingers brushed away centuries of sediment, a soft purple glow emanated from within the crystal. My God, she whispered, her heart racing. Marcus, are you seeing this? The pilot leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the strange light. Never seen anything like it. What do you think it is? I'm not sure, Victoria replied, carefully extracting the crystal from its resting place. But I intend to find out. The discovery would have been extraordinary enough on its own, but it was what Victoria found inside the crystal that would change everything. Back in her lab at the Oceanic Research Institute, she placed the specimen under a high-powered microscope. The crystal structure was unlike anything in their geological database, but it was what she found suspended within its lattice that made her hands tremble. Perfectly preserved strands of DNA, but with a double helix structure far more complex than any known terrestrial organism. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just evidence of ancient civilization, it was evidence of non-human intelligence. Victoria worked through the night, running analysis after analysis. The DNA sequences were incredibly stable, protected by the crystal's unique properties. More importantly, they were complete with modern genetic technology. It might be possible to she stopped herself. The ethical implications alone would be enough to shut down her research, but the scientist in her couldn't let it go. This could be humanity's first chance to understand an alien species, to learn from their biology and perhaps even their culture. Making her decision, Victoria began systematically erasing her findings from the Institute's database. She copied the essential data to a secure drive and carefully packed the crystal. The world wasn't ready for this discovery, but she would find a way to unlock its secrets. As she left the lab that night, Victoria didn't notice the security camera silently tracking her movements or the encrypted message being sent to a very interested party in her apartment. She placed the crystal in a lead-lined case and began making plans. She would need specialized equipment, a secure facility, and most importantly, complete privacy. Victoria spent the next 3 months setting up a hidden laboratory in an abandoned research facility outside the city. Every piece of equipment was purchased through different aliases, paid for with cryptocurrency. She lived on coffee and determination, working to decode the alien DNA secrets. The breakthrough came on a stormy night. Victoria had managed to map the complete genome and, using advanced CRISPR techniques, began the process of cellular reconstruction. The purple crystal pulsed in sync with her equipment, as if responding to her efforts. Lightning crashed outside as the first cells began to divide and differentiate. Victoria watched in awe as the process accelerated far beyond normal rates. The crystal's glow intensified, and she could have sworn she heard a faint humming that seemed to resonate with her very bones. "This is impossible," she muttered, checking and rechecking her instruments. The cellular growth was perfectly controlled, following a predetermined pattern that suggested an intelligence far beyond random mutation. This wasn't just DNA, it was a blueprint, a message left behind by beings with technology far advanced beyond human understanding. As dawn broke over the horizon, Victoria finally allowed herself to rest on her monitors. The cellular matrix continued its miraculous development. In few weeks, she would know if her hypothesis was correct. But deep down she already knew she wasn't just reconstructing an alien being. She was about to make first contact with a species that had visited Earth in the ancient past. What she didn't know was that others were watching, others who had been waiting centuries for this very moment. The game was about to begin, and Victoria Riss had just made herself the most important player. The incubation chamber hummed softly in Victoria's underground lab. Inside, suspended in a nutrient-rich solution, a form was taking shape. After 6 weeks of careful cultivation, the alien embryo had developed into a humanoid figure with distinct characteristics that defied terrestrial biology. Victoria adjusted her sensors, monitoring the being's unusual vital signs. Its skin had a translucent quality that seemed to shift between deep indigo and violet, with patterns of bioluminescence pulsing beneath the surface. The crystalline structure she discovered had somehow integrated itself into the being's cellular matrix, creating something entirely new. A sudden spike in neural activity caught her attention. The being's brain waves were intensifying, showing patterns unlike anything she'd seen in human subjects. Victoria leaned closer to the chamber, her breath fogging the glass. The being's eyes opened, revealing iridescent pupils that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "Hello," Victoria said softly, activating the chamber's audio system. "Can you understand me?" The beam turned toward her, voice movements graceful despite never having moved before. Its lips parted, and a voice like chimes in the wind emerged. "I understand, I remember, and yet I do not." Victoria's hands trembled as she initiated the drainage sequence. "I'm going to help you out now. Don't be afraid." "I am not afraid," the beam replied more confidently. "Now you are." Victoria Rhodes, "I know this, though I don't know how." As the chamber opened, Victoria helped the being sit up, wrapping it in a thermal blanket. Up close, she could see that what looked like hair was actually thousands of fine, crystalline filaments that caught and refracted light. "What should I call you?" The being was quiet for a moment, head tilted as if listening to distant music. "Lyra," she said finally. "It means harmony." In a language long forgotten. Over the next few days, Victoria documented Lyra's remarkable development. She learned language and motor skills at an exponential rate, accessing what seemed to be genetic memory stored within her DNA. Her bioluminescent patterns responded to her emotions, creating mesmerizing displays of light and color. But it was Lyra's other abilities that truly astonished Victoria. She could manipulate energy fields around her, creating small distortions in space-time. When Victoria cut herself on a broken beaker, Lyra healed it with a touch, the crystal fragments in her skin blowing as she reconstructed Victoria's damaged tissue. "My people were healers," Lyra explained, though she seemed uncertain about the memory. "We traveled between worlds, helping species evolve beyond their limitations." "What happened to them?" Victoria asked, examining her now perfect skin. Lyra illuminate dimmed. "There was a war, not of weapons, but of ideologies. Some believed we should guide other species, others wanted to rule them. The crystals were our last resort, a way to preserve our essence until we could be reborn in a time of greater wisdom." Victoria felt a chill run down her spine. "Are there other crystals?" "Yes," Lyra said, her galaxy eyes distant. "But we are not the only ones who know of them. The signal of my awakening, it will have been detected as if on cue." Victoria's security system chimed. Someone had breached the outer perimeter. On the monitor she saw figures in black tactical gear moving with military precision, but they weren't human. Their movements were too fluid, too perfect. "They're like me," Lyra said, her voice tight with fear. "But not healers, hunters, the others who chose dominance over harmony." Victoria grabbed her emergency pack and the remaining research data. "We need to go now." "Wait." Lyra pressed her hand against the lab wall, her crystalline features glowing brightly. The concrete rippled like water, opening a tunnel that hadn't existed before. "My abilities are still developing, but I can get us to safety." Victoria stared at the impossible passage, then at the remarkable being she brought into the world. Everything She thought she knew about physics, about reality itself was being rewritten. Before her eyes lead the way as they flowed into the tunnel which sealed itself. Behind them, Victoria realized she was no longer just a scientist making a discovery. She was part of something much bigger, an ancient conflict that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the galaxy. Victoria and Lyra emerged from the space-time tunnel into an abandoned subway station. Beneath Prague, the air was thick with dust and forgotten memories. Lyra stumbled her bioluminescence flickering weakly. The tunnel creation trained me, she explained, leaning against a graffiti-covered wall. I need time to regenerate. Victoria checked their surroundings, her scientific mind struggling to process the impossible journey they just made. Those hunters, they're not the only ones after us, are they? Know Lyra's galaxy eyes darkened. Human governments will have detected the energy signature of my awakening. They've been searching for crystals like mine since the first atomic bomb split reality enough for them to sense our presence. A distant rumble made them both freeze. Victoria pulled Lyra into a maintenance valve as a subway train thundered past, its lights casting strange shadows through Lyra's crystalline hair. The brief illumination revealed glimpses of ancient symbols carved into the station ball's symbols that made Lyra gasp. These are warning markers, she translated, tracing the patterns my people left them. This station, it's built over one of our old outposts. Before Victoria could respond, her phone buzzed, an alert from an old colleague at the Oceanic Institute. Gal scientist man Huant Durar rise wanted for theft of ScienceFiction materials considered XM dangerous. They're coordinating. Victoria muttered, the hunters must have infiltrated human government centuries ago, positioning themselves to the crystals. Lyra's bioluminescence pulsed with anxiety. The hunters were warriors, once meant to protect our healers, but the crystal technology corrupted them, amplified their aggressive instincts. They believe dominating other species is the only way to prevent violence and chaos. A high-pitched whine filled the air, making Victoria's teeth ache. Lyra grabbed her arm. They're scanning for my energy signature. We need to move. They ran through the tunnels, their footsteps echoing off century-old tiles. Victoria's research had prepared her for amazing discoveries, but nothing like this. She was running from alien hunters through coordinates that shouldn't exist, guided by a being who could manipulate the fabric of reality. The whine intensified. Behind them, shadows moved against shadows. Victoria caught glimpses of crystalline armor, of weapons that seemed to bend light around them. The hunters were closing in. They reached a junction where three tunnels converged. Lyra suddenly stopped, her whole body glowing. There's another crystal nearby, active. Recently awakened, another like you know. Lyra's voice was tight with fear. A warrior crystal they're trying to trap us. Boy, an energy blast hit the wall beside them, transforming the concrete into quantum foam. A figure stepped from the darkness, humanoid but wrong, its crystalline armor pulsing with red light. More hunters appeared from the other tunnels. The specimen will come with us, the lead hunter said, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. The human is irrelevant. Victoria stepped in front of Lyra. She's not a specimen, she's a person, a healer. Your people's mission was to help others evolve, not dominate them. The hunter cry line mask shifted, revealing features that were almost human but carved from living crystal. You know nothing of evolution, human. Your species is violent, chaotic. You need guidance, control. No, Lyra said, her voice stronger. Now, humanity must find its own path. That's what we believed before the war. That's what the crystals were meant to preserve, not just our bodies, but our principles. The hunter raised its weapon. Then you will learn along with them. The hard way. Time seemed to slow. Victoria saw the weapon crystal matrix beginning to glow, saw the other hunters moving to fire, but she also saw Lyra's bioluminescence intensifying pattern, swirling faster and faster. Close your eyes, Lyra whispered. The tunnel exploded with light brighter than 1,000 suns. Victoria felt Lyra's hand grabbers pulling her sideways through a fold in Space she could feel but not see. They fell through dimensions, through memories of ancient stars when Victoria opened her eyes. They were in a forest. Snow was falling. Lyra lay unconscious beside her, her crystalline features dim, but she was smiling. "What did you do?" Victoria asked. When Lyra's eyes finally fluttered open, showed them a truth they weren't ready to see. Lyra said weakly, "About humanity, about themselves. It won't stop them for long." But she tried to sit up and failed. "We need to find the others, the healers, before the hunters recover." Victoria helped Lyra to her feet, supporting her. As they trudged through the snow, the hunters would come again, stronger now that they knew what Lyra could do. But Victoria had seen something in that moment of blinding light, a glimpse of what humanity could become with the right kind of guy. Not control, not dominance, but harmony. The hidden research facility was carved into a Norian mountainside, its entrance disguised by holographic technology. There, Raven Blackwood, a quantum physicist turned crystal researcher, LED. Victoria and Lyra through security checkpoints that analyze both physical and quantum signatures. "Welcome to Sanctuary," Raven said, her dark skin contrasting with the fact facility stark white walls. "We've been tracking crystal activations for decades. Yours was the first successful awakening that didn't result in immediate hunter intervention." The facility buzzed with activity. Scientists from various disciplines worked alongside beings that defied conventional biology, some clearly awakened from crystals, others human but transformed by crystal exposure. Lyra's bioluminescence brightened in recognition. "There are other," she whispered. "Not many, but we're not alone." Raven nodded. 7 awakened healers, hiding in plain sight. Each carries a fragment of your people's knowledge. But the hunters have awakened 30 warriors. The balance is shifting. Victoria watched a crystalline being demonstrate molecular reconstruction to a group of YD physicists. "How long has this been going on?" "Humanity has been caught in this war since before recorded history," Raven explained. "The hunters guided aggressive civilizations, while healers subtly encouraged peaceful advancement. But now both sides are preparing for something bigger." They entered a circular chamber dominated by a quantum computer core. Holographic displays showed crystal activation sites across the globe, most marked in threatening red. Raven gestured to a pattern emerging. "The hunters are building something. Their crystal activations form a geometric pattern that's altering Earth's quantum field. We believe they're trying to force human evolution in their desired direction. They'll destroy humanity's potential." Lyra interjected, her galaxy eyes flaring. "Forced evolution creates brittle adaptations. The changes must come naturally, guided by wisdom and choice." A proximity alarm shattered the moment. Raven hands flew across holographic controls. "Multiple quantum distortions. They found us." The facility's lights dimmed as defense systems engage. Victoria felt reality ripple as space-time barriers activated, but the hunters had grown stronger. The barriers shattered like glass through the facility sensors. They watched crystalline warriors materialize inside the perimeter. Their armor had evolved, incorporating elements of human military technology. They moved with deadly precision, overwhelming the security forces. "The evacuation protocols," Raven ordered. "Get everyone through the quantum tunnels. We can't let them take." The research scientists scrambled to destroy data and protect their crystalline allies, but the hunters were hurting them, forcing everyone toward the central chamber. It was a trap. Lyra grabbed Victoria's arm. "They're not here to capture us. They're here for the quantum core. With it, they can amplify their crystal network across the entire planet." Victoria looked at the complex equations flowing across the holographic displays. "Can we shut it down?" "No," Raven said grimly, "but we can overload it. The resulting quantum cascade would destroy their network and this facility, and everyone in it." Victoria realized. Lyra stepped forward, her crystalline features hardening with determination. "Not if I can help it." Her bioluminescence exploded outward, connecting with the other healers in the facility. Together, they created a quantum field that enveloped The civilians, the hunters, burst in weapons. Charge, but they were too late. Raven initiated the overload sequence as Lyra, and the healers teleported their human allies to safety. Victoria found herself on a snow-covered peak watching as quantum energy erupted from the mountain. Below, the hunters' CST network shattered. Their carefully constructed pattern, built over centuries, collapsed, but the victory came at a cost. The facility was gone along with years of research and a quantum core that had taken decades to build. It was necessary, Lyra said softly, supporting Victoria as she stared at the devastation. But this is only the beginning. The hunters will adapt, rebuild, and next time we'll be ready. Victoria finished. She turned to see the scattered survivors regrouping, humans and healers working together, because we understand now this isn't just your war anymore, it's ours too. And humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, it's your ability to change. Lyra agreed to look at the impossible, and instead of running from it, embrace it, learn from it, grow. The wind carried snow across the mountain, but Victoria barely felt the cold. She had glimpsed humanity's potential future, not controlled or dominated, but guided by wisdom and choice. The real evolution was just beginning. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, in a chamber older than human civilization, Victoria watched Lyra commune with an ancient crystal matrix. The surviving healers had brought them here after discovering that the hunters' defeat had activated something within the earth itself, a final fail-safe left by Lyra's people. The chamber walls pulsed with living crystal, displaying star maps and genetic codes that rewrote themselves in real time. Lyra's bioluminescence synchronized with the patterns, her consciousness merging with the ancient database. I remember everything now, Lyra said, her voice resonating on multiple frequencies. We weren't just visitors to Earth, we were its guardians, appointed by something far older than ourselves. The crystal matrix projected a history written in light. Victoria saw vast beings of pure energy seeding young galaxies with life, establishing a network of guardian species to guide evolution across the cosmos. Laia's people had been one such species, chosen for their capacity to heal and nurture. The crystals weren't just preservation devices. Victoria realized their keys to unlock humanity's next stage of evolution. Yes, Lyra turned to her galaxy, eyes swirling with ancient knowledge. The hunters believed they could force evolution through control, but true transformation requires choice. The crystals were meant to activate only when humanity was ready to make that choice. A quantum tremor shook the chamber. The hunters had regrouped, their remaining forces converging on the location. But they weren't alone. Global military air forces, drawn by unprecedented energy readings, were also closing in. Humanity stands at a crossroads, Lyra continued. The hunters want to ensure you follow their path, but my people saw another possibility, a future where humanity transcends its limitations, not through force, but through understanding. The chamber's crystals pulsed faster, responding to approaching energy signatures. Victoria checked their defenses. We're out of time. Whatever we're going to do, it has to be now. Lyra placed her hands on the central crystal matrix. There's only one way. The crystals must be merged with Earth's biosphere, not to control humanity, but to give every human the choice to evolve. The hunters will try to corrupt the process, Victoria warned. They can't. Lyra smiled. Because you've already proven them wrong. You found me, protected me, chose to understand rather than control. You represent humanity's potential for growth through wisdom rather than force. The chamber's entrance exploded. Hunter forces poured in, their crystalline weapons charged behind them. Human military units advanced with experimental quantum weaponry. Both sides froze at the sight of the ancient matrix. Step away from the matrix, the hunter commander ordered. The human species must be guided properly. No, Victoria stood beside Lyra. We guide ourselves. That's what evolution means, the freedom to choose our own path. Lyra's bioluminescence reached its peak. The crystal matrix responded, its energy flowing into her. She had become a conduit between the ancient guardian's wisdom and humanity's potential. The choices offered, Lyra announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the planet. Not to control, but to connect, not to dominate, but to understand. Each human will decide their own path. Light erupted from the matrix, cascading through the chamber and beyond the hunter's weapons. Dissolve as the energy wave passed through them, transforming their corrupted crystals back to their original purpose. Across the globe, humans felt a moment of connection with each other, with the earth, with the vast cosmic web of life. When the light faded, both hunters and human soldiers lowered their weapons. The crystal matrix had become transparent, its purpose fulfilled. Lyra stood transformed, her crystalline features now perfectly balanced between alien and human. What happens now? Victoria asked, feeling new possibilities awakening within her own cells. Now Lyra took her hand. Now humanity joins the Guardians, not as servants or masters, but as equals. Your species has proven its capacity for both destruction and creation. The choice of which path to follow has always been yours. Around them, hunters and humans began to communicate, centuries of conflict giving way to understanding. The ancient chamber had become a symbol of transformation, not through force, but through choice. Victoria looked at her own hand, seeing traces of crystalline light beneath her skin. Humanity would face many more challenges, but they would face them with new wisdom, new capabilities, and most importantly, with the freedom to choose their own destiny. The war was over. Evolution, true evolution, had begun.